All right, so I think we can start. Hopefully, some more people are tuning in. Not sure why it's just a few of us this time, but hopefully some more will join. But anyway, I think we can get started. This is the 21st weekly dev call for Matchbox. It's great that we've already managed to do so many of them. These calls are basically for projects to come in, present their progress, their updates, talk about issues, ideas, approaches to things, really anything and everything that has to do with game dev on Starknet. And on today's agenda, we have 3 points. First off, Angelo and Hugo are going to present their game Exothium, which is a Matchbox flagship game. Then we have an update from Takizo on Deadly Games. It's been a while since we talked to Takizo, so I think he has quite a bit to talk about. And then Casey has some progress to report on the music tools. Very excited about all of these. And yeah, let's just get right into it. Angelo and Hugo, the stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. Can I share the screen?
Yes, you can share your screen.
Okay. Just tell me when you can check it. Ugu will start talking about a little bit about Exodium. Then I'll jump in to talk a little bit about the first game, Exodium World. Then we will talk about the structure for the contracts, and also show a little bit of our alpha gameplay. So I'll leave it for Ugo for now.
Hey guys, thanks for having us. So I will quick slide the slideshows. So Exodium is more than games. So it's more a community to create games based on open source code, assets, and everything that can be shared. So let me try to pass to another one. I can't. Okay, we can pass this one. We want to accelerate open source games by open assets, music, and code, community-driven donations, community collaboration, feedback, easy on-ramps for players and builders. So we will try to support games off-chain and on-chain, and we use blockchain to improve the governance and tokenomics for some games that we will develop. We see that we have problems in blockchain and in blockchain gaming. So one of the problems is the decentralized games are slow at in-game actions, and we have high costs for each transaction. Another one is player to earn are some gamified bonuses in my view, and it is not fun. NFT traders are not gamers, and we don't trust the games that blockchain produce right now. So we want to build on top of layer 2, Starknet. It's our choice. Create games for regular gamers and as well for Web3 gamers. Fun for us is like a utility, so we want to create fun experiences and build it now and sell it later. Exodium ecosystem will use Exodium ecosystem will use community, creators, developers, and players to iterate around ideas, get around a consensus about what games we can develop or not, create assets, and take some decisions about the development of the games. For now, we are focused on Exodium World, and Angelo will talk more about it in the next minutes. We use, for now, we have been using this tech stack, React, Node, Phaser. Phaser is our game engine of choice. It's JavaScript game engine, open source. So it will have a ton of features for you to use. And of course, with Starknet, we aim to create more vivid games with more in-game actions, with more speed and low costs. Angelo, can you jump in?
Yeah, of course. So I will talk a little bit about our first game, Exodium World. So Exodium World is a procedural generator survival game, where the objective is to explore, create, survive, and craft, and join with other players to do the actions within the game. So Exotic Worlds is basically we have two components. So we have the free component, free to play, where it is actually Web 2, and we have Web 3. All these mechanics on Web 2 are thought upon the mechanics on Web 3. So what we tend to create is a little bit more to have a better user experience, of course, in Web 2. And in Web 3, it's where the tokenomics and we replicate the Web 2 game in Web 3. So as I talk a little bit, we can we have role-like progression, we have leaderboards. Players can create worlds. So these are called instances. Anyone can create a world based on their parameters, and upon that, players can join that world. And you have to explore to survive the map. So you can see here we have like 4 races at the moment. We have already all the assets for this for the races. So we will have 12,000 different traits for the NFTs. And yeah, so Exotic World is procedurally generated, but also it's an iteration of eras. So anyone can create a world, but they have to set up the time for that world. So imagine you can create a world that expands for 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 year. You decide. And then we will upgrade basically the game with each iteration to add more content to that. So imagine like seasons in normal games like Fortnite or League of Legends. We tend to create that, and tokenomics are also around that. We will not share the tokenomics for now because that's something a little bit that we don't want to share for now. So yeah, we also have the lore, but I will talk about the lore. Everything that we have is open source, so everything about even our game engine, the website, everything that you want is completely open source. So you can access our GitHub to see what we are developing right now. I can also share the links later if you guys want. So yeah, I will also showcase the current game that we have, but I will let Ugo talk a little bit about how we are structuring the contracts and how we are trying to mimic them in the Web 2 part.
Yeah, I will go and do a quick overview. So we are thinking about serializing the objects. So we have a felt in Cairo, and we want to pack and unpack the felt to have more information inside it, so we can create transactions for less money. And for now, we are using charter data, and of course, in a couple of days or months, we will have more information. But for now, we are focused on packing and unpacking data for characters, item data, creature data, entity objects like trees and bushes, object data, and tile data. This data will have a structure like this, and we can read and write with our contracts. But for now, we are focused on creating the contracts to move, sleep, it, and craft, extract, hunt. Each contract or each use case will, of course, interact with other contracts and other states of the game. And when we create a game instance, we will have to create all contracts. We are thinking about adding a nice thing that is a diminishing returns for resources. So here we can unpack data from our field and 10 bits for X, A, B, and C, and we will use an equation to calculate how many resources these objects will have at X time. So this information will be nice to implement, and in this case we can put these functionalities in every object. So we will create in the future other objects like trees or machines, everything that can come in another era. We'll use the same mechanism, and of course we can tweak the equation and the parameters. I will not go into more things other than crafting. So crafting is a little bit tricky because we want to use special. Let me zoom in. We want to craft ERC20 tokens, but we want to craft along with NFTs. So we have a bunch of problems because it will cost a bunch of reads and especially writes on Starknet, and we thought about putting the items in an array of items. So the inventory of items is a single array of fields, and every field have a token ID inside it, and with this token ID we can know what type of token is inside that item, and we can construct the recipe with tokens that are fungible and non-fungible. So we will send two arguments for the items, one for the position of the items, one the resources that we want to incorporate in that craft, and the quantities. Because each quantity or because each position, we can go back and see in our inventory what type of item is that. We can, after it, reconstruct a single recipe with the token ID, quantity, token ID, quantity. We will have 9 slots, and the recipe will be characterized by the token IDs and the quantities. Each array will have 20 bytes for token ID and 7 for quantity. So our quantities will surpass the 99. And yeah, for now it's all. We will now implement these type of contracts in the next weeks in Java, simulating in JavaScript, simulating the contracts, and we will create a library to consume this information after it. So we will develop in JavaScript for now, and of course trying to understand what limitations we have in Cairo, and serialize all the information that we need, and to make possible to translate that functionalities and structures to Cairo as soon as possible. And Angela, you can share the game, the proof of concept now.
Yeah, I will do that. We are really in our time, so you guys can also check. It's world.exodium.com. Check our first proof of concept. It's only single player, but you can already see the parameters that players can use to create a new instance of a world. and basically the noises and everything. So with that parameters that I use, I can generate this map. Of course, I can see all the I can set up the number of tiles, what type of tiles I want, and yeah, we will improve this. But basically, this is only a proof of concept for now. You guys can check the link, and we will update this in the next days. But in the next days, we will have like action, so you can so you can actually start doing stuff with the creatures and resources, and see your bag, and also see your stats. But yeah, I'm already running out of time, so I will let now Swag take over it. But if you have any questions, you can ask. This is all done in Phaser, as you can see. But in the next days, we'll continue to update this to have a more better experience.
All right. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was really interesting to see how you approach the different things. Do we have any questions for Exothium? For this exclusive first look at Exothium? Maybe just to give you guys some more context, I think the way Hugo and Angelo are approaching this is to first do some of the coding at least off chain, and then try to write that in Cairo, right? Because it gives you more
Exactly.
flexibility to first test out things off chain and then port it to Cairo essentially.
I had one quick question, if you don't mind. Are you guys gonna, for the tokens, are you gonna expose like standardized interfaces? Because you mentioned you were like packing the token IDs. Are you gonna expose like standard like ERC 721 or 1155 interfaces, or are you gonna do something like custom?
For now, the idea is to do it custom, and we can think about it after. We will use the ERC 1155 to pack all the ERC 20 tokens in one contract, but the other items will be serialized. And for now, we will not use any standard, but we can use it after.
Got it. So I did something like similar to the packing that you're mentioning for the dope wars, like hustler items, and the contracts are written in Solidity, and like so it stores it in a compressed representation, but then it's like the interface is still the standardized interface, so you just like translate it or like marshal it like into like full UN 256 or whatever, which might be, I can share that if you're interested in that.
Yeah, please. Yeah, we are exploring, so it will be nice. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, because my one suggestion would be to expose like a standard interface so it like is easily interoperable with all the other tools in the ecosystem. But yeah, I'll DM you with a link to how we how we did it in the Dopos contracts.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Thank you, Terence. Any other questions for Exothium? Maybe I have a very very stupid question. Is Exothium going to be like first person or third person or top down perspective? How's it gonna look?
So we will start first with top down perspective, but we already intend to also implement at least for the next year. I think we we intend only from top down perspective, but we already thought upon other mechanics that we can use within the tile. So where the character is and where all the people live, so we can really do that in a 2D style when they are inside a tile. So yeah, that's something that we already explored, and think that we can add in the future, but not the first iteration of the game. And even when we go to when we have the contracts and everything, we will continue to have the top-down view.
Got it. Makes sense. All right. If there are no other questions, then we can move along. If you do have a question, then now is the time to start shouting over me, basically. Okay. So next up, I would like to have Takizo on. Takizo, you're from Deadly Games. You've been, I think you have quite a bit to talk about because there's been quite a bit of restructuring, I think. So yeah, I'm curious to hear what you've got for us.
Yeah. So a little short introduction. We've been working on like a series of collections called Deadly Games, and it all started with the idea of doing these mini games within a collection that are associated with the deadly sins, like 7 deadly sins. So we were set on creating a game for each sin, which was trying to bring about the sensation of that sin, like greed, gluttony. Of course, using blockchain tools, methods that can be only done here. This was the point, but in the way it got all about the assets and how to sell them, and at some point I decided it was a big detour from the original idea. So also inspired by Matchbox, I decided to take this mini game idea and create the tools for others to join. Let me share my screen now. So, while learning Cairo, one thing is like it's this whole new ecosystem with the front end as well. So, one thing I always wanted to do was to add a small module of my own to a game, to a system, whatever. I think I went through Dope Force repo as well. It was also inspiring. I have a similar system here, but for different games. You'll see what I'm talking about. So, like, I have few tools to create this little ecosystem. One is a forum. We previously had a Discord channel, which was kind of active, but I don't really like how information accumulates in Discord. I decided a forum would be a much better solution for stuff like this. We will have a design system, which means front-end components to create games with. This is also a crucial step because I want to provide this workflow that requires minimum outside of contract development. So we will also have a modular contract system that can, add games, remove them, give access to them, and also, of course, games and like in the final stage, like we want it to be fully decentralized at the end. So for the forum, I think I'm gonna go with this course. It's a very clean one, easy to use, very popular. So yeah, we already started it using, within the team. It's forum.deadly.games. You're all invited to share your mini game ideas that require minimal UI stuff. Also, for the front end, I'll be providing a system on Figma as an open source thing, so people can also contribute to this end of things. And I really like Svelte, and it's very easy to learn. I mean, it takes half an hour for somebody to start going. So I think this is the best tool to there's also React, but I think the simplicity Svelte offers is way better than React's popularity. So yeah, and also of course Starknet.js. This is like this is how it looks now. It has an info section and the first game I'm testing right now. In the future, it's gonna look like this. A bit random grid that has lots of games. So you see many games and little stories at the same time. Yeah, and in the future, I want to like have some sort of multi-call functionality, so you can play a couple of games at the same time here. So yeah, this already talked about. I'm gonna provide some templates and stuff to make the onboarding easier. So okay, some of the games. These games now they don't involve any privacy. They just have some random algorithm that we used, and they're all based on sequentiality. So it feels a lot like gambling at this stage, but privacy is kind of very critical if you want to boil the games down to a few interactions like this. So yeah, this one is great. It was this came from the original concept of 7 Sins, so we kept the name. We already wrote the contract, so we kept this one. It's very much what it says. It's a rolling jackpot. The difference is you get some of the prize when somebody wins after you, and it falls off after a certain period. So it has this momentum building tricks inside. The second one is so I started writing now. It's like a Russian roulette. This is more degen from the other one. This is like you fill the round and a random triggers, and one player loses everything. Rest shares their capital. So another one is it's just this is for Starknet. This is simply dueling, but you choose the amount you deposit, and then if other player matches this, it just triggers, and you take all or nothing. So these are the games. I want like 3 or 5 games that complete its development on testnet. So like when we want to move to mainnet, we should have a few options, but the most important thing is the developers. So this is mostly about I'm sure all of you have some, small ideas like these. These ideas mostly don't deserve to be projects, right? By themselves. Maybe they're too risky, or but what I want to do is like provide this window shop for developers so that they can make these ideas come to life, maybe earn money from them, or just build reference, with Cairo mostly. So yeah, the final stage will be decentralized. How I do this is with the governance token. So when you play the games, you'll earn the governance token. So it's like at the end, the players decide what's gonna happen next. What game is gonna be added. Granted, because it will also have a treasury from cutting a little fee. So for this future, I mean, we already have the token, but I want it to be like a custom DAO to just make this cycle sustainable. When they play, treasury grows bigger, and then they can go forward for new games to be added. So they'll have new stuff to play. So yeah, this is the idea. This is at its infancy. This this presentation I got together, for myself as well, because it was a huge change. We had a lot of assets. We had marketing campaigns in line, whatever, all of these things. So it's at its infancy, but we are welcoming everyone, to discuss the game's ideas, or propose new ideas, or develop some of them that are getting discussed. Whatever suits you. So this is it. We have a Twitter channel, the forum, the website, and all the code in here.
All right, thank you.
This is it.
All right, thank you.
And yeah, this is functional, but it's I'm not sure if you can win this right now. I couldn't win it by this time, but yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. Just from my initial feedback, what I would suggest, I know this isn't easy, but like what I would love to see would be like, games and game concepts that are like fresh and new and unique and a bit less focused on like gambling and stuff, right? I know some parts of the gambling was because they were part of the Deadly Games 7 Sins concepts, and that's totally fine. But like moving forward, I think what I would really love to see would be games that explore new concepts, fresh concepts. Whatever.
Yeah, I actually hate gambling. I don't really like it. Yeah, I think there will be always, the risk involved in this stuff. But yeah, I also would like to, add more from the theory side, add more strategy. But it's also a challenge to keep all of these in a minimal, UI. So yeah, I think what's gonna be very good for us is privacy, because then we can make complicated things without complicated interfaces.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Yeah. If you're interested, check out the forum, and you can chime in if you have like any kind of small ideas that, like Takiso said, that don't really warrant becoming their own full-fledged project. Then you can at least add that idea to the discussion there. I think that could be great. Okay. Any questions for Takiso and Deadly Games? If there are no questions, then we can move ahead to our last agenda point, and that's Casey and just updating us on some of the progress you've made.
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen here. All right. So I've got a MIDI interface in React where people can interact with music tool libraries on Starknet. And it's a general kind of MIDI interface. Can you hear this?
I don't hear anything.
Okay, I'll have to kind of sort that stuff out. But basically, this is where people will be able to connect and access Starknet functions that take in data and output MIDI. The first, demos that I'm working on that use these MIDI or musical computation libraries are these auto harmonization algorithms I've been doing. And so for right now, I've just got this tab that goes to Starknet and pulls a function. And right now it's just saving a test MIDI file, for instance. And I wish I could actually load it. I'm having a bit of an issue this morning actually loading it, but I've got the binary file or the binary data sending out out of Starknet into this thing. So it's sort of like an off by one error right now, but basically, I'll have a tab calling one of these functions, grabbing data, and it'll populate this thing so people can interact with it. So for instance, you might put in a melody and you can select from a drop down how you want to harmonize it, and it'll send you that data back. And so this is where I'll be testing the sort of musical operations that I'll be using in working for games, for instance, because games will be calling these different functions during a game that will be returning this MIDI that will then be played. So this helps demo that process. And that right now I'm just sort of in the process of refining all of the MIDI messages being sent from Starknet to like a UI like this. And that's kind of like what I'm working on like in the next kind of 24, 48 hours. I'm so close to being able to populate MIDI. And then at that point, I can start adding in all the music libraries and stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And, since these computations aren't, stateful, they're not storing MIDI themselves, they're outputting it because, the amount of data, I'll be outputting is so huge, you wouldn't want to necessarily store that. So when it comes to actually storing stuff, it'll be a much more primitive example, primitive base sort of themes that a game might use, and then use music operations on those themes to then, have these larger kind of, MIDI sounds. So that's what I've got so far.
All right, awesome. Did I see like the unofficial project name there? Is it called like Koji, I think?
Oh, that was
Or
just sort of a fun name because it's one of my big inspirations is Koji Kondo, who wrote all of the Mario and Link stuff for Nintendo back in the day, and so I have just used that as a sort of holder template because everybody's been using names in this space, so I thought it was kind of fun. But that's just sort of like a fun kind of name for now while I'm getting things going. But
all right.
yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's fine. I just noticed it and I was like, oh, it looks cool. Yeah, anyway, that's really cool. In terms of the functionality, is this so help me out here. Is this on testnet yet? Like, can you test calling your contracts yet, or like how
Oh
far?
yeah. Like so, for instance, that like when I was calling the like that darknet function over here, it was sending back a ton of binary data, and which is like represents that MIDI file. And so I've just been kind of testing right now, so I'm going by every byte and making sure that I'm like converting it properly. I'm maybe not converting it the most like efficiently. I'm sending hex of ASCII values over, but it seems better than just trying to send a bunch of binary for a few reasons. And so yeah, I've just got some sort of weird tick, and I've been looking at the file, and there must be just like some errant byte, because you have to specify how many bytes are in your chunks in a MIDI file. So I might be off slightly by that.
All right, that helps. That helps me understand. Okay. I wanted to ask something, and I think I just forgot. That's unfortunate. Yeah, I actually forgot, I think. Does anybody else have any questions? Maybe I'll remember in the meantime. Like, for example, if let's say there is another game on testnet, and they want to use this, right? What's the sort of thing that they could do right now, and what's that's going to look like in a few days or a few weeks or a few months?
Oh yeah. So there would be contract addresses that you could basically call a function, and it will return. For instance, it could just return like a composed MIDI output, and it could just be like a melody, or it could be a harmonized melody, and they could then load that data into a whatever audio player is in their gaming system. So if they're in React, they and they have a React MIDI player, or they use the one under the hood of this one, then yeah, they now have like musical data that they can then play in loop as a sort of soundtrack for their game.
Got it. Okay. I actually remembered what I was going to ask. I'm not sure if I understood this correctly, but I think maybe is storing data an issue for you in any way?
Well, these I mean, MIDI files, I mean, some that I've made are megabytes large, and it's great because they can be really expressive, but I wouldn't want to be reading and writing that kind of stuff. I just think it would cost quite a bit. And so if there's a sort of like kind of more condensed version of that music that you can store, that would be much better, because these computations themselves aren't stateful, and so like you can just call them willy-nilly. So that was kind of the idea, is to ideally have costs so low, or that you can just have functions computing music for different scenes, and that would be a low cost kind of endeavor.
I see. So, but like, so with low cost, you're basically speaking about Starknet and eventually getting the performance up to a level where gas fees would be negligible, I think.
Well, yeah, and I guess that's a question, because I'm just able to call functions that are sending data back without any sort of gas, because there's no like storage bars happening, basically. And that would just mean that people would be able to really interact with this stuff a lot without worrying about costs at all. But if they did want to store like a melody, or like a musical theme or passage for their game, then they absolutely could do that, and then have that interact with any of these contracts or musical libraries.
Got it. Okay. And so on that note, I'm not sure if this has anything to do with what you trying to do, or if that could help you in any way. But I'm not sure if you've heard of, there's an oracle on Starknet called Stork, and they announced a data marketplace using Validium and validity proofs. So maybe that could
Oh,
be
okay.
something you could look into for storing your data, because
Yeah.
it would be incredibly cheap to use that potentially. But I'm not sure exactly if that fits into what you're doing at all. So I can't necessarily
Yeah.
speak to that.
Yeah, I think so. How this sort of developed is I was talking to Loaf from Realms, and I was walking him through byte, or by hex, like a MIDI file, and he was already thinking, "Oh man, can we not store this, or can we reduce this down in any way possible?" Because there's just some kind of verbose descriptors that would take up data, and I think he's really on a you know trying to have as little state as possible. And so that was kind of the motivation, is to have like basically computations that can generate a ton of MIDI at first, but store smaller components based on some core musical themes that games generally have.
Okay, so I'm not sure if what I told you about is useful to you, but I can definitely, send you a link from there
Oh,
also.
yeah, please do, because it would be awesome to store just like whole MIDI files and then interact with them. Like I just worry that you would be able to do a lot less going that route initially. But and I've just been working on the MIDI messaging side, but yeah, that would be great if you could send me links to that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I'll leave figuring out how to do that concretely to you for sure. But I'll hook you up with the info.
Cool.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, do we have any questions for Casey, or since there's a few game devs here, the idea behind the music tools was obviously to use that music in games, on-chain generated music. So if you want to get in touch with Casey, or if you already are, then just saying you can use that and test it out at least to some extent already. So yeah, any questions for Casey? All right, if there are no questions, then we can wrap up this call. Thank you so much to Angelo, Hugo, Casey, and Takiso for coming on and presenting, discussing, and answering all of the questions. I feel like with each dev call, there's at least something of value we get out of it, just in terms of sharing information or sharing approaches to things. So I think that's really valuable. And I think that's what this is all about. So that's great. So yeah, thank you all for attending, and we'll see you guys next week again. Have a great day.
You too, guys. See ya.
Thank you.